It is time for another episode of Grateful Gratitude with Lolo. Lexi is on sabbatical for
Yep.
pretty much the rest of the year.
Well, I don't know how long. She's got a lot going on with dance and a lot of things, so we decided we're just going to keep on rolling, and she'll be at our meetings and things like that.
Good deal.
So today I want to talk about how important our words are.
Great.
I think this is really important to talk about at this juncture and time because I'll let you say.
Whether you support him, whether you voted for him, however you feel about him, the fact is that the current president of the United States, President Trump, uses words in a way that is probably the opposite of what you're going to talk about and what you're going to suggest today. He uses words to not necessarily destroy, but to...
Some of it's, I want to say, a little bit egotistical and
Okay.
a little bit...
He definitely uses his words, and he's definitely got a mission behind his words.
He does. And though I may be a softer speaker and you may be softer with your words, unfortunately, sometimes we're really destroying a lot.
Destroy. There you
yeah,
go.
we're destroying.
And we may get into this a little later on in this episode, but I got to tell you, there's a part of me that would love if everyone, and this is a part of me, if everyone used their words the way he uses his words, because you don't have to guess. You know what he's saying, you know where it's coming from, you know whether you like it or not. You don't have to guess on how he's feeling about certain things. It's one of the reasons I like my Special Olympians.
Yeah.
Is because you know what's coming out of their mouth is the unfiltered truth, which may not be the truth with the president.
Yeah. Well, I guess the thing I've always said, it says in the Bible to pray for your leaders. And I pray for our president because that's what the Bible tells me to do. I also pray that he would use kinder words.
Yes.
You can still make a point without being hateful.
Yeah.
And we really don't need to tear society down with being hateful. But that's all I'm going to say on politics.
Okay.
But
Well, he's a great example.
it's a very, yes.
You don't have to make nicknames up about your political enemies, or
No.
and you can still get across what you want to get across
Right.
without being completely hateful.
Well, I guess the thing is, doesn't the Bible tell us that we're to love one another
Yeah.
and we're to build each other? So to me, I just think, let's get off politics. How about that?
Okay.
So let's go to Ephesians 4:29. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others according to the needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And we did do this in another podcast, but it's so important. It was important to the Gossip podcast, and it's important to this one. So I want to talk about an analogy that I once heard Rick Warren talk about, and it was to use your words like a tool. So he talks about going into his garage and using a power saw. So there's certain things you have to know about using that power saw, that he made the analogy with your words. So first of all, you have to know that power saw. You have to know what it can destroy and what it can build. And so it's just like your words in your mouth, that you have to know what are the capabilities with your words. The next thing is you have to keep the guard in place on the power saw so you don't cut your arm off, right? Well, we have to stop talking sometimes. We have to put a guard up and say that's enough talking. We just need to not say anymore. You have to be careful around children. You can't let kids use a power saw, right, for safety reasons. So you have to be very careful about the words you use. Little Levi is 2 years old, and they say by the time kids are 3 years old, 70% of their learning on how to socially interact and talk, like to see people talk, has been formed.
Yeah.
And so we sometimes think it's more important on how we talk to our teenagers, but it's really critical that any little one you see, you talk nothing but love and support. You put the power saw away when it's not in use, right? So that means don't just talk to talk. And we talked about that on Gossip, that sometimes people just need to talk to hear themselves and feel important. Words are the same way. If you don't need to speak, don't. Or if you need to say a kind word, say that kind word. But think before you cut something with the saw, before you cut someone with your words. And don't overreach. So you use the power saw, you don't want to go so far that it's dangerous. Same with your words. Keep your words truthful and kind. And if you can't, then keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And lastly, he says never use it in an explosive atmosphere. So we want to be silent in an argument. So if you see that a situation is becoming elevated, sometimes that's the best time to quiet down. So
That makes a lot of sense. And when situations are elevated, that's where you run the risk of using wrong words
right,
in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment.
right,
And those words can really stick with you if you use the wrong words. And, hey, it's happening in the NFL right now with, I don't know, do you know the story? So a big fight that happened in November, and we're recording this in February,
right,
where defensive lineman tackled a quarterback, and they got into a fight, and the defensive lineman ended up ripping the quarterback's helmet off and hitting him with his own helmet. And the defensive lineman didn't use this as an excuse, but accused the quarterback of saying a racial slur,
right,
which everyone says didn't happen, except the only one saying it happened is the defensive lineman.
yeah,
But let's just pretend that he did use that racial slur in the heat of the moment. Well, it's going to impact him for life. And it was a heat of the moment thing where, and I'm not saying that he did, but I'm saying that if it had happened
right,
in the heat of the moment, you say a lot of things. Husbands and wives say a lot of things in the heat of the moment that they can't take back.
that's right. And it cuts and wounds, and it cannot be forgotten. Yeah, I don't know. I got thinking about you figure the last 3 weeks. I just look at things, how things change and how people have used their words. So, for example, Kobe Bryant passed away, and we saw nothing but kind words, great words, paying homage to what he had done. And then the next thing is you see J-Lo and Shakira on the halftime show, and everybody's blasting them about how inappropriate it is, yet you see gymnasts and dancers, and it's like it's all interpretation, but yet they were blasting something that someone put a lot of time and energy into. The next thing was Nancy Pelosi tearing up the State of the Union. So people were, she needs to go to prison, blah blah blah, and it's like, you know what, why not just stay silent?
Slow down.
I'm kind of glad there's the broom challenge right now, because that can't be confrontational. Even though I saw something the other day that said, oh, this is ridiculous, this would do whatever. But you and I always get off topic here, so.
Have you heard the Taylor Swift song, Calm Down?
No, do I need it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some negative words and a more positive
Okay.
approach. Now, we did do a podcast on talking on prettier words and stuff. So one of my favorite things is, instead of saying, I'm exhausted, I now say, I'm going to go recharge.
Okay.
Okay. Instead of saying, I'm a failure, I'm in a learning process.
Okay.
Okay. I tell women all the time, don't say I'm overwhelmed, say I'm in demand. Because when I hear the word overwhelmed, I think of someone laying flat out exhausted, like stars going around their head, just like they have no energy. But when I think I'm in demand, I think of like a businesswoman with, phones ringing, and I don't know. It's just, another one, don't ever say you have a problem, say you have a challenge.
Yeah.
Or last one be, instead of being weird, be unique. So all those people you say are weird, I want you to now say
You know
they're
what?
unique.
I agree with that, actually. And when I say they're weird, I'm not saying anything wrong about them. They're just different, unique. That's good.
And we're all different and unique because God's made us that way.
And instead of getting fired, you got separated from the payroll.
Oh, that's more positive. Yes, much more positive. Okay, so I wanted to talk about how you can use your mouth more carefully and your words more carefully. So stop making excuses.
Amen.
So if if you're constantly tearing someone down, don't go back and say, oh, I didn't mean to say that, it just came out.
Exactly.
You know what's going to come out of your mouth, because first of all, if you're so passionate that things are going to fly out of your mouth that you're not in control of, you need to walk away and breathe, because that's not a healthy situation. Or if someone says, well, that's just how I am. I'm just sarcastic. That's just how I am. That's not good. That's an excuse, and you need to quit that. How about talking less? That goes
A
back.
lot of people need to talk less.
I need to talk less.
No, you're doing a podcast.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, sometimes my husband hits the door and I blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
I think that's the women and all of us. So I think we need to listen more. I think so many people don't listen. And lastly, maybe make your first thought, what does this person need? Why are they feeling this way and saying this? Because usually when someone attacks like that or someone's down, they're kind of in a bad place and they need some healing or some positivity.
Yeah. It's all good.
It's all good. Words matter.
Yep.
All right. Until we see you again.